Thank you. I want to welcome you to the March 27th, 2023 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors. This is a hybrid meeting, meaning members of the public can participate in the meeting either in person or virtually. This meeting is being live streamed, and the slide on the screen, which there's not one. Here we go. Well, I'll continue. The slide on the screen shows the information on how to join the webinar via Zoom. There we go. You can also call into the meeting at 253-215-8782, and the webinar access code is, get your pens out, 837-9338-8162. And would the clerk please call the roll and establish a quorum?
Director Budge.
Here.
Director Daniels.
Here.
Director Hume.
Here.
Director Jennings.
Here.
Director Kozlowski.
Here.
Director Laloe. Director Maple. Director Cerna.
Here.
Director Singh Allen. Director Valenzuela.
Here.
And Chair Kennedy.
Here.
With that, we have a quorum at 8 votes. And this meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting will be closed captioned and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Thursday, March 30th at 2 p.m. and Friday, March 31st at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board, which actually I don't think we have anyone in the audience, should fill out a speaker card and bring it to Adam or myself. If you're participating by phone, please push *9 to indicate a desire to comment. If you are joining us through Zoom, please push the raise hand button. Be sure to unmute yourself when it is your turn to speak and voluntarily state your name for the record.
Thank you, and would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Before we get to our first items of the day, I think most of us, if not all of us, are aware that we lost a friend over the weekend. Past Chair Steve Miller passed away. And suddenly, I will just say that RT lost a champion and I lost a friend. With that, I'd like to start with a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Now we will move to our consent calendars, items 2.1 through 2.6. Is there any member of the board that would like to discuss a item on the consent calendar or have any questions of staff? Is there anyone, Madam Clerk, from the public that has any items on the consent calendar they would like to address?
Jeffrey Tartagia has his hand up.
Jeffrey, welcome.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. What I had raised my hand earlier be simply because of the factor that you had a live mic before you started. It's just a heads up alert that the Zoom was active and the microphone was on, even though there was no picture. I truly also do think Steve had much to contribute, and I will also reserve the part on there is I see no indication of the meeting that you took place on March 15th after canceling the March 13th meeting. I see no indication either via YouTube or a minutes record. Was that a closed session meeting or was it just simply admitted from the records? I understand that you're attempting to explain it under some business items, but I don't think that gives any indication that you held a meeting in March. And that's my comment right now before we get into the consent docket. Is there something missing?
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. Tabitha, would you follow up after the meeting with Jeffrey and make sure that we're all on the same page?
I will.
Thank you very much. With that, then, is there a motion for the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Director Cerna. Was that Director Budge?
Yeah.
Director Budge. Please call the roll. Or do we have to do call? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do voice vote.
Okay. We're in a new world, the old world. Okay, then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is number 6, public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda.
Is there a member of the public that signed up or would like to address the board at this time on something not on the agenda? I do see a hand up, but my cataracts can't tell who that is, so
We have Jeffrey Tartagia and Dan Allison both have their hands up.
thank you. Jeffrey?
Patrick, I also have cataracts, so I understand the feeling you're going through. But what I want to bring to the board's attention is you have had at least a minimum of 3 instances with the old Siemens light rail vehicles, in a sense, jumping the tracks. Is there any consistent relevancy, the turning of corners? Is there any similarity in trains? I note, just like the incident that occurred above the maintenance yard, I don't see any indication of any record of being explaining to the board what has happened in any of those incidences. I'm presuming that could be something the general manager could report in the general manager's report about what is going on and why we have had to have track issues, and it's not been brought before the board as a concern. And that is partly my comment on through there. I've already made you the comment about what records are having, with the further suggestion, if you're going to continue to cancel meetings, how about holding at least one of those for some workshops to either explain about the low floor vehicles, the other issues before regional transit. Again, that is partly what my public comment is about tonight, and I will certainly address when we come to that wonderfully complex 7.0 of business, because it's terribly hard to understand and even to try and read. And that's the end of my public comment.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And if it is not adequately addressed, please contact staff after the meeting, and we will try to get to the bottom of your question. Next caller. Who's the next caller?
Dan Allison?
Dan.
Good evening, Board. My name is Dan Allison, and I'm representing Sacramento Transit Advocates and Riders this evening. Our public comment is that we are participating in a number of different forums talking about what's next after the failure of Measure A. We did not support Measure A because, not simply because of the Southeast Connector, but also because it was predominantly roadway expansion projects and not enough for transit. We don't believe that just tweaking Measure A little bit and putting it back on the ballot is the right answer. We don't know what the right answer is, and that's why we're participating in a number of forums to try to answer that question. And then when we think we have a good answer, we'll join others and put it forth. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And when you have a good answer, please reach out and let me know. Next item, item number 7, please.
7.1, motion, authorize the general manager, CEO, to pursue a legislative amendment to SAC-RT enabling legislation relative to the board's composition and voting structure. Chris Flores is here to present this item.
Mr. Flores.
Good evening, board members. I'm Chris Flores, Chief of Staff with SAC-RT. It's great to see all of you guys here in person tonight. As you know, SAC-RT created a board composition, voting structure, and ad hoc committee to address representation concerns voiced by Sacramento County and the city of Elk Grove following recent annexations and the switch to one-member, one-vote structure in 2022. Previously, under the weighted voting, the County of Sacramento had 3 appointed board members and 32 votes combined, and the city of Sacramento had 4 appointed board members and 28 votes combined. With the switch to one member, one vote, Sacramento County has 3 total votes, and the city of Sacramento has 4 total votes, while the cities of Citrus Heights, Elk Grove, Folsom, and Rancho Cordova each have 1 vote. The ad hoc committee, I'm sorry, if you can go next slide. So the ad hoc committee met on March 15th and unanimously voted to recommend to the board to pass a motion allowing the general manager to pursue additional board seats for Elk Grove and the county. I will note that Director Valenzuela was unable to attend due to a scheduling conflict. Next, we need the entire board to unanimously vote to move forward. The board can take the 2-seat recommendations together or have separate votes on each seat recommendation, but a unanimous vote is needed to move forward on one or both. The committee also recommended they continue to convene to discuss potential changes to SAC-RT's structure pertaining to board member alternates, as well as how additional members could be added in the future, and whether to cap on the number of board members. But the ad hoc committee was clear in their recommendation. They would like to separate the items and move forward with legislative changes to address representation concerns. Currently, Assemblymember Nguyen has legislation AB 354 serving as a placeholder for board composition changes. The Assemblymember has indicated she is supportive of the ad hoc recommendation of adding a seat for either Elk Grove, the county, or both. Additional background is contained in the staff report, and with that, I'll turn it back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any members of the board? Ms. Valenzuela?
Yes, thank you, and thank you to Tabitha's Herculean efforts to try to get us all scheduled at one time, and I apologize for missing the meeting. I have no objections to adding a seat for the city of Elk Grove. I know our city staff has concerns, though, about adding an additional seat for Sacramento County, and so I just want to register that I wouldn't be voting to support that today. Thank you.
Any others? Is there a member of the public?
Dan Allison has his hand up.
Mr. Allison?
Good evening again. Representing Sacramento Transit Advocates and Riders. We support the changes being proposed in legislation, particularly the second seat for Elk Grove. It's a matter of fairness to Elk Grove. They have roughly double the population of the other cities that have one vote. Sacramento County, we recognize that part of what got us into this fix about not being sure how to move forward is the one member, one vote thing, which we disagreed with. We believe that voting should be population weighted. However, better this than nothing. So we do support it. And we also are on record as supporting the possibility of non-elected members serving on the board as alternates and regular members. We believe that there's a lot of expertise and passion in the community that doesn't really get heard on the board. And we all know that it's very difficult for elected members to make all of the boards and commission meetings that they've been appointed to. And a member of the public would not have that issue. So we want to see more done, but we support the suggestions for right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any other member of the public?
Jeffrey Tartagia.
Jeffrey?
Yes, I will echo what and reinforce what Dan has to say, but I also was a little questioning about the comment in there about West Sacramento, and would like to suggest that maybe a fact sheet or other sheet would better explain, offer for the future of what these changes mean and are going on. It's awfully complicated to read through there and figure out what is addressing what. And I think it should be thrown back to your ad hoc committee as a suggestion of both the population and what other representation, and addressing the concern about 30 plus boards. I remember when Jay was serving on this, he felt that RT took up way more time to manage and do, but he gradually understood the importance of it and appreciated the significance of it. And it seems to me like that is a question that allows where you do not have enough time to ask the questions of the general manager, and what you direct and get back from him about what is going on and happening beyond what is laid out through there. And it's awfully, again, hard to get the public involved when what you have worded in there leaves you with very little explanation about what you are attempting to do and why. For those of that have been to these meetings, We understand the concepts behind it and the other aspects, but please make it simple for the public to understand, especially in what you want to need to happen in the future. It's just like going on with, you explained about the Gold Line extension out there for Folsom, yet I do not believe if you were to ask the public directly why the extension is needed and what else is needed to happen, that they would get it, understand. And as you heard right now with the light rail on the low floor vehicles, there is a serious question about what the height truly represents and needs to be. And as using an electric wheelchair, I can tell you right now, it is not an easy thing to get aboard the light rail vehicle low floor, because it is not a level entranceway. And with that, I will end my comment.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
so, goodness, we met for quite some time the other day, and really had a very comprehensive discussion about the whole issue. This region has come such a long way in the last 20 years, when the fact that there was very little representation for, even at the SACOG level, for any kind of comprehensive representation that you could point to. And so everyone has gotten on a much more even playing foot. There was a discussion even of returning to the very intricate and complicated for staff weighted voting, which was fortunately put to bed. And we talked
Put to bed.
and we talked about the fact that the Library Authority has the ability to do this on a population basis with, when you go beyond a certain threshold, then you get another seat, like Elk Grove has 2 seats. And it was really a very comprehensive discussion, and that's how we came up with our recommendation.
Thank you for that clarification. Yes, Director Daniels.
Just a couple of clarifying points. You mentioned that the voting would be required to be unanimous. Can you speak to that and why that is required?
Yeah, so Assemblymember Nguyen, who's offering our bill, would like to see unanimous consent to move forward.
Okay, and then can you speak to, during the meeting that Linda was referring, we got some breakdowns, I believe, on populations, the Sacramento City population and their number of votes, and the Sacramento County population and their number of votes?
Previously under the weighted voting.
No, what they are now.
So
Their
it's
current populations and.
Oh, the current population. So the current population of the city of Sacramento is about 518,000. The population of the Sacramento County is 604,000. Although SacRT's service area is about 96% of that, so about 580,000 or so in the county, maybe a little less.
Unincorporated county.
Yes, correct. Excuse me.
And the number of votes each of those get? Currently?
County has 3 and the city has 4.
So the county has a higher population and gets a lower number of votes,
Correct.
essentially. And then what I would like to ask is from the Honorable Councilwoman, did your city take a position? Did they vote on your position tonight, or is that your position?
So I sat on the ad hoc committee whenever we met last year sometime with different committee members. The city's opinion is that we have such a density of service in the core that we really want to make sure that we maintain a little bit more of a vote on this body. Totally appreciate that there might be disagreement on there, and that's, just talking to our city staff, we feel really strongly like that a large percentage of RT service happens within the city limits, and so we like the voting structure with the obvious correction of the city of Elk Grove getting an additional vote, which we feel is fair. So that's, again, I'm not seeking, I didn't explain too much because I didn't want this to turn into another debate. That's how I'll be voting tonight, so.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So I believe your question was, did the city vote, though? Did the council vote?
No, we did not.
Okay.
So, and I think Phil will appreciate the fact that if we went to any kind of a service distribution, some of us would really come out the losers. I mean, Rancho Cordova, before the restructuring, Rancho had 4 bus routes, and now we have 2. So just kind of like North of Thomas. So, it's difficult to do it under service provision.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Chris, I want to make sure I understand correctly. Is it in legislation, or is it just the Assemblywoman's desire that the board vote unanimously? And I got to tell you, that stinks. A unanimous vote stinks, in my opinion, because it allows one person to hold hostage moving forward with this based on what they don't like. So I'll just be very candid with everyone right now. If you tell me that no, it's somehow fixed in statute, that's one thing. But I want to know whether it's
So is the desire of the Assemblywoman to see unanimous consent among the board? We can certainly go back there. I know they're paying very close attention to this.
Yeah.
But it is their desire. But our enabling legislation can be changed to for the structure of our.
I would, Mr. Chair, I would suggest before this board takes this matter up that we have a clear understanding of the board's desire, or if there are any other objections to this unanimity request, because I just don't think it's a fair way to do this.
And I 100% agree with you. So are you looking to move forward tonight, or would you rather, because it sounds like the unanimity is the desire of the assembly member, but there's no reason that we would have to follow that.
Mr. Chair.
Hang on a second. Is that correct?
So we could take a motion on both, or separate them, take them on those, and see how that turns out, and report to the Assembly member's office. And
Okay. Yeah. All right. Were you done? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Hume.
And I was just going to mention exactly what Chris just mentioned. Is it your desire to take them both together, or can we get the Elk Grove one out of the way, since it sounds like there's no...
I don't have any problem with bifurcating.
Yeah.
Okay, then in that case, I would go ahead to move to approve adding additional seat for Elk Grove.
Second.
Mr. Chair, again, before we vote, are we all of a common understanding that we're going to treat this as an attempt to attain unanimity, or not? Or is it going to be a simple majority vote on the motion?
Yeah, I'm just one up here. I will tell you that I don't think that unanimity is something that should be required.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's required at all, except for the
Right.
preference
Yeah.
communicated by an assembly person.
Right.
Except that we need to also remember that that Assemblymember Cooley felt the same way. I mean,
I don't
so
understand the
it's not-
relevance.
It's not unusual, but he felt the same way.
With all due respect to any assembly member, it's we act up here doing our business as we're expected by the public. A majority vote rules, and unless there's some other statute says you need supermajority, what have you. I just get very nervous when a unanimous vote is expected, because again, it gives each of us unusual authority.
Agreed. Any others? Okay.
Chair, we do have one more public comment.
Okay.
Rick Hodgkins has his hand up.
Rick, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
yes,
you.
we can hear you, Rick. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Based on what I heard, so I can't believe I was passed over after my friend Jeff Tartagia spoke. It's hard to say that whether I support the assembly member or not, if a supermajority is mandated, required, or not. For those who live in Elk Grove, they are growing. They're almost as big as Sacramento. They used to be a cow town, and I would say to folks in Elk Grove, congratulations and hats off, because if you need more members on the RT board, more Elk Grove City Council members on the RT board, just as Sacramento has 2 to 3 different city council members on the RT board, so be it. But if we need to table this till a future RT board meeting, so be it. But at the same time, by the same token, we want to make sure that Elk Grove is treated equally, because as one person like one or two people mentioned, Elk Grove is growing pretty fast. So I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Yes, Ms. Maple.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I did have a question. I know, being formerly working in the legislature myself, I know there's a lot of timelines and deadlines that are associated with the legislation. So I just wanted to get from your perspective, is there some urgency around this happening tonight, or is it okay if this gets pushed out?
Yeah, I mean, so we do have a bill introduced. It's a placeholder currently. It's the beginning of a 2-year session. So we probably would need to have provisions done in June to get it kind of probably around the June timeframe. So we do have a little bit of time to reach a consensus or address this. But yeah, June would be kind of when we want to get the bill to move, have hearings and pass.
Yes, Mr. Lowy.
Chris, just I want to make sure, is it the assembly members, what's the advantage to the assembly member for having a unanimous decision on this? Has
So,
she talked to you about it?
I do want to go back to her office and reconfirm that. I think she wanted to be very sensitive that this is, the board structure and your board voting power, and she didn't want to go do something that doesn't, she wanted to understand the full picture. So I think that was the sensitivity, but we can definitely communicate with her office and look into that.
I think if we can get a clear understanding of what her reasoning behind unanimous is, that would make it a little bit easier.
Cerna.
So I think I heard Chris say that there really isn't a sense of urgency tonight to take a vote on it. Closer we get to June, that probably changes. So, and Chris, you just mentioned you'd like to go back and get a better understanding. I'd say that because we don't have any real sense of urgency to act tonight on it, and that you probably ought to reconfirm just exactly what the disposition of the assembly member is, that we postpone this.
Is that a motion? Is that a substitute motion?
That's a substitute motion.
I'll second the substitute motion.
Okay, we have a motion, and a second as a substitute motion to continue this to our next board meeting. Is there any other board member that would like to address this? I have just one. I would like to make the comment that I hope you do go back to her. I'm sure we would all love a world of unanimity, but that's just not realistic. And from what I'm hearing here this evening, I don't know that another month changes anything. If a month from now, and I expect to have clearer, and I will also, as anyone else up here can, reach out to the assembly member. But if a month from now we're not in a unanimous position, I would still like to go forward with a recommendation at that time. But at this time, I think that the substitute motion is prudent. And is there any other member of the public, Madam Clerk?
There are no hands up.
Okay, and we've all heard. Okay, then I'd like to do a roll call vote on this one.
Okay, motion by Cerna and second by Kozlowski.
Yes.
Okay. Director Budge,
Yes.
Director Daniels,
Yeah.
Director Hume,
Aye.
Director Jennings,
Yes.
Director Kozlowski,
Yes.
Director Lalowy,
Aye.
Director Maple,
Aye.
Director Cerna,
Aye.
Director Singh Allen is absent, Director Valenzuela,
Yes.
and Chair Kennedy.
Aye.
Motion passes with 10 votes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is the General Manager report.
Good evening, Chair Kennedy, members of the board, and the public. Thank you for joining us for the first in-person meeting in 3 years. 3 years. I would like to first start my report by remembering Stephen, our former chair, past 2 years chair, after a sudden, sad, and unexpected news. Over the weekend, Stephen passed away in a very surprise situation. And I recall him went to emergency room last year around 3-4 times, but every time, like a couple days later, he kind of start as a new and very vividly and healthy situation. And for those who know Stephen well, he was thoughtful, caring, and always the first one to crack a joke. And he virtually brightened up any room he walked into. And in our board meetings, and he always had some great jokes. He served on the SACRT board for 16 years and left a lasting legacy on this agency and the entire region. You say, multiple innovative initiatives, and our best award as the best agency in North America. When we get this, is under his leadership, and certainly entire board leadership and everybody's. And also, as our board chair the last 2 years, he was a steady hand as the agency navigated the pandemic, and we cannot thank him enough. And we will miss Stephen and thank him for his many memories together. So that being said, and let's move on. Last Saturday, March 18th, was Transit Drivers Appreciation Day. We have nearly 700 operators, and we greatly appreciate their diligent work to keep our buses and trains running. While many of our peers have been forced to suspend routes because of workforce shortage, SACRT has been thankful to maintain 97% of service levels due to our effective recruitment efforts and a dedicated workforce, especially our operators. And let's move on. I also want to acknowledge that March is the Women's History Month. And in recognition of this, SACRT is celebrating the historical importance, achievements, and influence of women in the transit industry. And this is also an opportunity to educate ourselves about systemic barriers women face in our industry, particularly when it comes to gender equity and parity. But here in SACRT, I'm proud to say that the average pay for female employees is higher than male employees. Lots of our the tenured employees are males. And now gradually we have more females join our workforce. 99% of the transit agencies, females' pay is much lower than males. But a couple months ago, we checked. Our females' pay is slightly higher, but still higher. That is a very important, a great achievement. And another measure is the majority of our management staff are women as well. Out of our 9 executive management team, I think we have 6 female employees. And when we did our recruitment, it's solely based on the merits. And we have 6 out of 9 female executives. Okay, let's move on. At the beginning of this month, we celebrated a landmark achievement with the delivery of our first new low-floor light rail vehicle. You can see the picture. I think everybody knows who those great people are over there. So I want to first thank board members who joined us for a photo opportunity this month early. Last week, Siemens delivered the third vehicle, the new vehicle to us. By this time, next year, we should have over 30 new low-floor vehicles. And likely by the summertime, these new vehicles will be operating on the Gold Line. And we continue to make progress on station modifications or conversions along the Gold Line to meet the height requirements. You can see those pictures of the new low-floor light rail vehicles. We did those, we convert those stations 1 weekend per station. And the last time when FTA come to visit us, they said normally it takes 2 weeks to finish that one station, but we took 1.5 days on the weekend today. The plan includes, so another thing is, later this summer, we will celebrate the groundbreaking for additional track, about 0.9 mile track in Folsom that will allow for 15 minutes service on the final 7 miles of Gold Line. And I shared with Director Kozlowska last time, that means we are investing over $50 million on the city of Folsom in terms of our light rail, modernization, the vehicles, station conversions, and the double tracking. Then, in addition to light rail modernization, per our board guidance and many, community, members' feedback, we just complete our bus stop improvement plan, not actually to complete the entire action. The plan includes a comprehensive list of necessary and desired improvements to bus stops throughout Sacramento's service area and identifies over $65 million worth of improvements to 630 bus stops out of over 3,000 bus stops system-wide. I remember Director Budge recommended us when we modernize those bus stops, make sure on the major stops we show, hey, welcome to the city of Rancho Cordova. In the bus stop, when arrive the city boundary in that stop. Well, we can do this to other cities and areas too, which kind of is a fun thing to do too. With the plan, Sacramento is now well positioned to apply and secure grant fundings to implement these improvements. Additionally, Sacramento is now working on a Stockton Boulevard bus stop implementation plan, and please take a survey on our website to give us feedback. By the way, we just last 2 months, we submit 2 grant applications to federal government. Both grants are requesting money to buy more new light rail vehicles. The total funding ask is about like 80 million or close to 100 million. I cannot recall exactly. And one of these 2 will be very competitive. As we say, both are very competitive, but one will be extremely competitive. So at least we will get like a $30 million or something grant. But I cannot make sure that's the case, but we just feel very confident about that. So then at the beginning of this month, I had the opportunity to attend APTA's legislative conference in Washington, D.C. to hear about the federal legislation and policy initiatives. I had the pleasure of meeting with Federal Transit Administrator Nuria Fernandez and her staff and the TOD, DOT staff, the U.S. DOT staff, including Deputy Secretary, to update them on SACRT's service and advocate for our various projects. The lady is our FTA administrator. During the conference, updated national transit data was shared with attendees. SACRT is the 43rd largest transit agency by ridership in 2020. And before that, we were ranked in 51st, 51. Now we're 43rd in terms of ridership. But more importantly, Sacramento is ranked 31st out of top 50 urbanized areas, the top 50 urbanized areas in the nation with the most transit travel in North America. What that means, we are doing great in terms of ridership compared to other major urbanized areas, even though our ridership on public transit is still not satisfactory. However, compared to other regions, looks like we are doing very good. And talking about the DC trip, on April 21st, or April 24th, is our region's famous cap-to-cap DC trip. We just got a confirmation today, U.S. DOT staff, including Administrator Nuria Fernandez, scheduled a meeting with us on Tuesday, April 25th, afternoon, 2 p.m. in the cap-to-cap meeting. We will be able to go to the DOT building to meet with them. I would strongly recommend and request all our board members who will go to cap-to-cap trip attend this meeting and share our region's progress, especially from the elected officials, to let the DOT officials know how this region really are ready and willing to improve our infrastructure, and hope federal government can pay more attention to this region and grant more bipartisan infrastructure law funding to us. So to conclude my remarks, I want to remind everyone that Sacramento Regional Transit District is turning 50 years older next week, 50. We have many events planned to celebrate the significant role we have played in shaping our community over the past half century. And with that, I'd like to ask SACRT's VP of Communication and Partnership, Deborah Selanis, to do a short presentation on what we have planned for our anniversary celebrations, and then Carmen Abel, SACRT's VP of Bus Operations, to provide the operations and customer service update.
All right. Thank you, Henry. Good evening, Chair Kennedy and members of the board and the public. I'm Deborah Salinas. As Henry mentioned, I'm the VP of Communications and Partnerships here at SACRT. And tonight we are very excited to share our plans for our 50th anniversary celebration. The first step in the year-long plan was to have our logo updated to represent this milestone anniversary. As you can see, we have several iterations that can be used in a variety of materials, and the design was actually based on earlier branding survey that some of you were able to participate in. We know what we heard from everyone is that they really love the blue and gold, and they wanted to see an evolution of our logo and not so much revolutionary. So in taking all of that into consideration, the logos you see on screen keep our look and feel, but are refreshed in a fun and modern way. We will use this anniversary branding through the end of the year, and at that time, we will then go back and relaunch the actual corporate branding that we originally started. Okay. The anniversary plan includes a multitude of elements, which I'll get into a little more detail as these slides run through. I know we shared some of the anniversary plan details by email with you. However, this is a good opportunity to provide a little bit more information. Slide. Thank you. Our anniversary celebration will kick off with a press event at the Casumas River College on Monday, April 3rd at 10 a.m., and we're really excited. We're going to have some of you speak, as well as other elected officials that represent the area. We'll also unveil our light rail train and our bus, our 50th anniversary vehicles. Thank you. It's very nice. As we get to unveil that, this will be very similar to our library train. This will actually run on a schedule so people can jump aboard, at their leisure. They'll have a schedule so they'll know when they'll be able to join us. The draft design that you see here of the bus and light rail train will, as we said, will wrap one of each, a bus and a light rail train. And I want to say right now, special thank you to Gillig and Siemens, as they are sponsors of each vehicle, so we really appreciate that. And this train will be dotted with QR codes inside for an immersive experience, just like the library train that I mentioned earlier, so that riders can connect to our history and a lot of SACRT's achievements over the years. So it's a lot of fun. I highly encourage that you all board this. As I mentioned previously, it will operate on a schedule so people can easily find it. The schedule is now listed online at sacrt.com/50years. Most of what I'm covering today is or will be available on our website. And here's a list of the different blog stories and videos that we'll share, which are being released each week. And I really encourage everyone to, go to this website and read them. They're very great stories, things that I didn't even know about SACRT, and I've been here about 21 years. So right now you can read about our longest tenure employees and SACRT's origin story, very interesting. And here's a little snippet of video of one of the slideshows that you can find on the website right now, so if we can play that. So we have a lot of years to celebrate, and that is, I can't even tell you, maybe like 1/16 of all the photos that we have, so thank you. I know it was a little bit long, but we have many years to celebrate. The other thing is, what is the one key takeaway from that? We love our anniversary cakes. Do you know? And there's some great hairstyles in there, but can you tell what decade I came out of? Okay. Oh, we're gonna play again? All right. Well, SACRT will also be hosting several pop-up events at light rail stations and transit centers throughout our system and our service area, where customers can pick up 50th anniversary giveaways, enter to win prizes, including a free year of transit. So as a special thank you to the Sacramento community, SACRT is also offering free ride transit Tuesdays on fixed route bus and light rail every Tuesday through April 2023, and these are the dates. The 4 dates are April 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th. So please tell a friend. And of course, how do we share all of this information? Here's a detailed list of some of the promotions we are doing, and as always, we always include a mix of owned, earned, and paid media, including rack cards, news releases, email blasts, paid media. We're really excited to share this, and each of you will receive a digital toolkit complete with social posts and images. We hope that you will share it with your constituents. That concludes my presentation. Just a reminder to check our website again at sacrt.com/50 years. A lot of great stuff on there. We keep releasing everything. We refresh it every week, so we hope you'll join us. And even though I know I shared a lot of this via email, this is a great opportunity to hear feedback from you all. If there's other things that you would like to see, we have a whole year to celebrate this, and we have a lot of fun events planned. And that concludes my presentation, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Do we have anyone from the public? Rick, you have your hand up.
Good thing that you caught me first. Congratulations. Not to make fun, but I'm glad that you're able to see that. I wish I had vision like I used to. I would love to make it to, if we have an event here in Citrus Heights. Ms. Salinas, you kind of cut out a little bit. I don't know if you are participating remotely like I am, but I missed some of what you said. So it's next Monday, April 3rd at Cosumnes River College. I've taken light rail there once to kind of celebrate the opening of that new expansion and extension about 8 years ago, back in 2015. So that was now lowered. That was on a Sunday. Sorry, my computer talks, because I have to make things talk now because of my almost complete loss of sight. But I do have one question for Henry, and that is, with the platforms just now being raised system-wide, what if someone needs to cross the tracks to go the opposite direction? Because if I get off at Mather Field and I need to go downtown, how would I be able to get across the tracks? Because I guess a platform will be 6 feet high now, because, if you're at a BART station in the Bay Area, you would not cross the tracks. You would go up an elevator or an escalator on the other side. You would not cross the tracks because there is a third rail there. You could get electrocuted. Now, I know this is light rail, and the electrical power is from up above, not from down below. Still, that the platform will be, as I take it, 6 feet high. And of course, I've been to the new Cosumnes River College light rail station, and that the platform doesn't seem, it's been 8 years, so I can't remember, but that is my question. And also, I'm glad that we're getting grants to continue our work in expanding and extending the system. We still have the green line to expand and extend the green line out to SMF, which is SAC International Why not just call it S or SAC-I? I don't even know what the MF stands for in, but my concern is that transportation funding might be cut at the federal level. And if that's the case, we may just have to cut overhead and not actual funding for projects and or services. So thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Instead of having Henry, because I have a feeling that there's going to be follow-up required for your questions, they're pretty specific. What I'm going to ask is, Henry, can you have staff follow up with Rick on his specific questions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Rick. And anybody else?
There's no other hands up.
No.
Okay,
Thank you, Deborah.
great, thank you. Next up is Carmen Alba with a customer service update.
Thank you, Deborah. Good evening, Chair Kennedy, members of the board. My name is Carmen Alba, Vice President of Bus Operations. Presenting with me today is David Topaz, Vice President of Employee Development and Engagement. Today, we are providing information about bus service cancellations, as well as an update on improving customer service in response to recent customer comments and board feedback. Today, we provide 97 to 98% of pre-pandemic service. As you see from the following peer comparison, we're faring much better than many of our peers, both in service level and ridership, which is currently at 75% of pre-pandemic levels and steadily growing. Next slide, please. As you know, the pandemic changed travel patterns, people worked from homes, and students attended school virtually. These changes had an immediate impact on our on-time performance. In March of 2020, on-time performance immediately improved due to reduced traffic congestion. Also, lower ridership meant reduced dwell time at bus stop, also improving on-time performance. The following chart represents a peer comparison, showing that we are faring much better than many of our peers, and especially compared to Bay Area agencies. Our current on-time performance is 83%. A bigger challenge for SAC-RT today is trip cancellations, which I'll talk more about in our next slide. A missed trip or canceled trip is a scheduled transit trip that is not operated as planned. This is a list of the top reasons for bus cancellation in order of highest impact or frequency. The first is operator unavailability. This is when an operator is not available to drive due to a staffing shortage or a high operator absence day. Second is bus bridge service during a light rail service disruption that requires us to pull operators from scheduled bus service to operate bus bridges along the gold and blue lines. This may happen when light rail has an unforeseen disruption like a power outage. Other reasons for missed trips include equipment failures such as mechanical breakdowns, passenger incidents, or vehicle accidents. Finally, other reasons include severe weather conditions. This may sometimes result in service disruptions requiring bus bridge services and also bus detours. As illustrated in this chart on the slide, the number of monthly bus cancellations has significantly improved in the last year from a high of 7.6% of trips during a significant COVID surge in January of 2022 to 1% in February of this year. After COVID, we restored service. SAC-RT received many requests from customers to fully restored service levels. We discussed increasing service levels with SAC-RT advocates and ambassadors. We listened to our community and riders when they said they'd rather keep the current service levels, which are at 97% with some cancellations versus reduced service levels with minimal cancellations. We have, however, received some feedback on timely passenger notifications and communication regarding specific bus cancellations, which we'll address in an upcoming slide. We have an uptick in cancellations every October, November, and December during cold and flu season. high vacation use and family gatherings, which unfortunately lead to more illnesses. COVID cases also increased during these months. Operator absences became SAC-RT and many other transit agencies' biggest challenges during the pandemic and remain a challenge today. This chart illustrates the average weekday operator absence during the calendar year 2022. The percentages on weekends are higher because there is less revenue service on Saturday and Sunday compared to a weekday. As you see here, Mondays at 31% and Fridays at 30% are the highest operator absence days. We typically see a spike in absentees on payday Fridays and Monday after paydays. Prior to pandemic, weekday absenteeism was about 20%, as illustrated in the flat pink line on this chart. Another trend for high absences is Friday before and Monday after certain holidays. The smaller bar in red represents weekday absences, which averages 80 to 90 per day. In this next slide, we'll take a closer look at a breakdown of these absences. This slide illustrates the average weekly operator absence by type. In 2022, planned absences shown in green include vacation leave and holidays. They are consistent across all weekdays because they are scheduled per an operator bid and therefore planned, and the work is covered ahead of time. Unplanned absences are shown here as everything above the green bottom section of the bar. These absences are harder to anticipate and therefore more difficult to cover. This includes sick leave, FMLA, and workers' compensation. These types of absences occur at the very last minute before a trip is scheduled to begin, sometimes without notice, which causes spikes in bus cancellation. The section in red shows the average sick leave in a day. During the pandemic, sick leave increased more than any other absent reason. Employees received additional leave in the form of state-mandated supplemental paid sick leave, or SSPSL, in 2021 and 2022. And SSPSL expired in December of 2022. These absence spikes, which again are more prominent on Mondays and Fridays, result in bus cancellations. Also, operators are less willing to sign up and accept overtime on Fridays. At SAC-RT, we do not require our operators to take additional work on their scheduled day off. It is strictly voluntary. This comparison clearly shows how unplanned absences increased dramatically during the COVID pandemic, which directly impacts service as planned absences are more difficult to cover. Pre-pandemic, the majority of absences were planned absences, represented in blue, making it much more efficient to cover work with advance notice and better utilizing our extra board drivers. Next slide, please. Up to this point of the presentation, we've been focused on bus. To provide data on light rail, we are operating 100% of pre-pandemic service levels, and ridership is about 60% of pre-pandemic levels. Also, on-time performance is 98%, and the cancellation is 1.3%. The cancellation rate is primarily due to weather conditions and a workforce shortage. When bus cancellations occur, we realize it's imperative that passenger notifications are timely and communication is clear. At SAC-RT, we have several passenger communication tools. The SAC-RT website is where you'll see the trip cancellation detail. This information is uploaded by the dispatcher as it occurs and immediately after they know it will occur. The SAC-RT Bus Tracker app and Bus Tracker website is where customers subscribe to receive notifications of service disruption by specific bus routes or by specific bus stop numbers. As SAC-RT receives feedback regarding the Bus Tracker app, we continue to work with our operations team on process improvement and work with our IT and customer service teams on enhancing the user experience. SAC-RT continuously communicates service disruption information on social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. The Alert SacRT app is another tool that is available to customers. They can receive push notifications of major light rail disruptions or planned service impacts. And finally, the customer service call center is available for riders to call for the most updated information 7 days a week. Trips covered first or restored first include trips with no other alternatives, for example, commuter routes 100s or tripper routes 200s. Also covered first is the last trip of a route or trips with lower frequency. Trips that are typically canceled if absolutely necessary are trips that have other alternatives or transfer options, and trips with high frequency rates. Canceling trips with high frequency rates typically means that customers would have to wait an additional 15 minutes versus canceling a trip on a commuter route and potentially stranding a customer. We also received questions inquiring about the use of smaller vehicle on routes historically performed by 40-foot buses. On the surface, it appears more efficient to use a smaller bus. However, there are many factors impacting fleet utilization. The reason we deploy a full-size bus on these trips is because scheduling trippers and commuter trips immediately preceding longer all-day routes maximize the use of SacRT resources. However, we are in the process of reviewing our routes and fleet utilization type to maximize efficiency and flexibility, including considering operating lower ridership routes with smaller vehicles if necessary. So how are we mitigating bus cancellations? Last year, we adjusted day-off allotments to increase availability of operators on certain days of the week, to improve availability of high leave usage days. We also adjusted the number of leave slots available to spread the time off across the months and the year. And now I'll hand it over to David to continue with our mitigation efforts.
Carmen, I'm sorry, could I ask you to define tripper?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know where that's coming from. Yes, a tripper is typically a piece of work that goes at the beginning of a longer piece of work. So it's typically our Route 200s. So we call them our school trippers in-house. So it's a smaller piece of work that we tack at the beginning. So normally it's our commuter or our smaller pieces of work that we tack on to the beginning of a larger piece of work.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Did that answer your question?
Sort of.
So for example, our 200 series routes, those are smaller pieces of work. They're normally commuter trips. They just happen in the morning and in the evening, and they're very limited. They're not all-day routes. So like Route 1 or Route 51, they're all day, very consistent, very frequent. A tripper's not. It's just like a small little 1 or 2 trips in the morning and 1 or 2 trips in the evening.
Okay.
So Director, like in my district, we have those for like around our school-centered areas. We have a lot of these buses that'll hit certain routes in like Land Park or in East Sac because they're getting kids to and from like Sutter Middle School, for instance. But it's not a school bus because obviously that would be a different requirement, but it's tailor-made for like very specific high-dense areas, if that's helpful. I don't know if I made that better.
But it doesn't really relate to, but that doesn't really relate to the fact that we've made it free for school kids to ride the bus and light rail.
No, I don't.
Because they can ride the bus and the light rail at a variety of times of day, not just on the way to school.
That's correct. That's correct. That's why I was hesitant to call it a school tripper. It's just a tripper. Some areas, some cities call them school trippers because it's just at the time of a day. We here at SacRT, our students and youth utilize the entire system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So following up on all the operations efforts that have been made to reduce the potential impact of cancellations, with the pandemic and a nationwide driver shortage, we still hired almost 300 people last year at SacRT. We added 5 operator positions to help cover some of our absence problems, and we're adding 10 more in FY 2024. We've done that by reducing the barriers to hiring. We've offered hiring incentives and referral bonuses. We've improved the operator wages to make ourselves more competitive. We've held on-site hiring events, producing many on-the-spot job offers. We've been focused on hiring staff, of course, that take great care of our passengers and who are well-trained and compensated. We've added positions to cover for that increased sick leave event and FMLA. Of course, this all comes at a cost. We're approximate 12% increase in our costs in FY24, trying to be competitive and to have enough staff available to handle any of those shortages. Next slide.
So let me just emphasize this point. In order to maintain the current level of the service, we need to add more people because of way more sick leaves occurred. And it's also as a result of that, we have to add like 12% of more cost for the additional operators. This is not just our situation. This is cross the industry, occurrence. And I talked to Bay Area operators, the systems, they even add like 20% of more cost because they need to add more operators to maintain the current level of service. As a result of a pandemic, the sick leave increased by up to 20%, and our sick leave increased by about 10%. So it's kind of like the business, the new normal now.
On that point, during the pandemic, we actually suspended our attendance program for our operators by mutual agreement with the union. That was restored in mid-2022. We're continuing to have discussions with our union partners on how we can make sure that people are showing up to work each day, addressing issues like sick call-outs and no-call, no-show, and coverage for bus bridges. Next slide. In addition to the attendance program, we've actively managed our long-term leaves, FMLA and ADA. We've accelerated the ADA IP processes, trying to help people either get back to work or voluntarily placed in other positions where they can work. Our unions and our operations staff and labor relations have been very helpful in getting these things done. Next slide. In mid-2022, we started a training and workforce development department, and their job is to create content and training for all of our staff to improve their engagement and also their performance. We added training into our new employee orientation, covering customer service basically on day one. And it continues through the ongoing training that our staff has each year, and upon initial hire, going through their entire initial training. Next slide. They have about 30 different classes that they go through TAPCO, which some of them they include professionalism and customer service, conflict and aggression management, ADA compliance. These are all efforts we're trying to make sure that they are providing the best service while they're here and giving out everybody the rides they need. Next slide. Carmen already mentioned we're focusing on quality communication, not just with the customers, but with our staff and our supervisors and our managers. We're trying to make sure that all the messaging is going out on our alert apps and our online media, but we're also focusing on when there's a mistake, when there's an error, that our staff are quickly counseled, retrained, and they get back to work. We've worked with our union partners to do that. They've been very cooperative, and we hope that continues. We're also looking to add more commendation programs, customer service excellence campaigns, and more employee recognition programs. Those do have an effect. As Carmen mentioned, all throughout the pandemic, we had food truck events and other employee appreciation events for all those folks who were here at work every day.
So what we haven't talked about yet is the fact that the vast majority of our staff shows up every day and provides excellent service to the citizens of Sacramento. We recognize them quarterly for the last several years with food truck events and multiple appreciation events, and will continue to do so. Our service level, on-time performance, and continual efforts to meet the needs and requests of our riders makes us highly successful compared to our peers and agencies, and we're so very proud of that. This concludes our presentation today, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Valenzuela?
Thank you. This is a really helpful breakdown because obviously something like FMLA and workers' comp, you have to file papers. Like, it's not like you can just say, I'm on a workers' comp. Like, there has to be a process there. I think this is, as Henry noted, a shift in our industry because there is such high exposure. And I don't know how many people in this room know people who've gotten COVID or really sick in the last, I feel like every day I'm getting notifications that, hey, you were around somebody who just got sick. Hey, you're around somebody who just got sick. So I'm also worried that this is, I get the habitual folks who might be calling in every Monday morning or a lot of Fridays where you're like, okay, this doesn't feel like incidental exposure. It sounds like maybe you have a scheduling priority issue. But it does sound like maybe it's just the nature of the industry now. Exposure is just so high with all these different viruses going around. So I guess when you mentioned increased spending, I know we're doing the driver incentives and the hiring incentives, which is great. Does that also involve any just restructuring and staffing? I know you alluded to that on the slides, but just to assume that this is just going to happen at this frequency maybe for a while, and while we try to tackle the folks who are just habitually calling out when they don't want to come in, how do we help with the folks who might be calling out when I want them to call out, which is, hey, I feel symptomatic and I don't want to come drive a bus until I know what I'm dealing with,
This is more like a new habit as a result of a pandemic.
A new habit.
People like to spend more sick time with the family members or themselves. If they have, they don't feel comfortable, they just call sick day. And I corrected my previous statement when I say the sick time, increased by 10%. Actually, it's more than doubled. Like before, maybe just 10 people called sick day per day, but now it's 20 or even 30. So they do not really, this is just a new habit or new trend as a result of pandemic.
Okay, I guess I'm curious because I bet if I called some drivers right now, they might say, no, I've gotten sick 3 times this month, or whenever I feel a runny nose, I just don't come in because I want to make sure that I'm not carrying something that's sick. So I guess I just want to be careful that we're not incentivizing behavior that we wouldn't want to happen, which is a driver wakes up with a scratchy throat and says, oh, hey, I'll come in anyways because I don't want to get it, because it's like, no, I want you to stay home because I don't want you to spread what you might have to the passengers on the bus either.
I'll answer that. That's about right. In fact, in 2020, late 2020 and 2021, when SSPSL first was rolled out, we did encourage that because we wanted our operators and their families to be healthy. And then in 2022, we started seeing second rounds of COVID cases by the same individuals. And these were confirmed COVID cases. So yeah, we saw a little bit of everything. But all of it did result in increased cost. We talked a little bit about extra board. I didn't really go into it because I didn't want this presentation to be too long. But in the old days, a 20% extra board would suffice, and that means an extra board is like substitute operators on standby that come in to cover work that for someone who calls in sick. These days, we've increased that the last couple of budgets, and these days we're more like 25 to 30%, like Mr. Lee said.
Okay.
So definitely different.
Making adjustments, though, to compensate. Okay, thank you.
Director Maple.
Let me do this. Thank you very much for the presentation and some of the detail on who's out when and why. I do have some questions around pay. So I know there was a salary study done. Obviously we are experiencing a nationwide worker shortage. It's not just this industry, but we know it's happening in this industry. So I recognize it's not just a Sacramento problem, but are there ways that we're trying to incentivize workers to come to SacRT by putting in competitive wages? If you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, our wages have increased substantially for our operators as of January 1st. By the end of this 4-year contract, we will have moved up about 5 places in the country as far as our ranking, as far as how high paid our operators are. The top step operator by the end of the contract will be making just shy of $40 an hour. And of course, that comes with our excellent benefits and our pension system. So yeah, that's actually helped us a lot. Like I said, even during a pandemic and a nationwide driver shortage, we hired almost 300 people last year, and the pace is continuing the same so far this year. When there's vacancies, we're hiring. We have lots of applications ready to go and people in the pipeline, so that we'll just keep putting them in. Now, that's not true of all of our operators. They are in multiple different bargaining units, so there are different rules, and some of that is dependent on what the union wants to go for and what they're willing to do. But we also did the same thing in Elk Grove. where they had a very significant salary increase, which has helped us start to staff up fully there as well.
Any others? Yes, Director.
Yeah, it occurred to me to ask you, did you have much success with the attempt to hire people from other countries?
We have, I'm not aware of any specific hires yet. We were waiting for, are you talking about the refugees that?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We, of course, went through the process talking to them about what they needed to have as far as
Right.
employment authorization, and we're obviously more than happy. If they meet the minimum qualifications, they have a driver's license, we're going to train them how to get a CDL. So we're actively interested in hiring anybody who's wanting to be an operator here.
Okay, so that it's, and you continue to do these hiring events. I know that.
Yes.
So, but it's not specifically targeted anymore, not right now.
No, no, but we also, I mean, in addition to the hiring events that are on site, our HR staff and our operations staff actually go out to many different community groups and job training and placement centers and actually go to their career days with folks that are either graduating or completing those programs so that they get a business card from a recruiter right away and a place to go if they're interested in a job.
Great, thank you.
Director Laloe.
Thank you. When you get a chance, can you email me the requirements for employment? Simply because in my district, I have a very nice increase in the Afghan community.
Oh, good.
We're looking at almost 3,500 families. So I would love to share with them, some of the opportunities regarding
Absolutely.
faculty.
It'd be our
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Any others? I will say, first of all, on that issue, on the refugee issue, if you're not already coordinating with SETA, to do so, because they have a refugee program. And I will say thank you to staff for, recognizing that not every route is created equally, and looking at a hierarchy of what's, those that we have to stopgap quickly, for example, the hundreds and 200s. Having personal experience, almost missing or getting late to Board of Supervisors meetings twice in the last couple of months because of cancellations. But it's because it's not like the Route 62 where, okay, you missed it, so another one's going to come by in 30 minutes. You miss that second one, it's gone. and then you're high and dry, which has happened to me. So I appreciate the fact that you're not treating every route the same and that there are definite differences. So, any other questions, comments?
Jeffrey Tartagia has his hand up.
Jeffrey.
Well, Carmen, I thank you. I thank you for putting this in front of the board. I know you and I and the transit ambassadors have been concerned and discussing about bus cancellations for nearly a year, and appreciating more the participation in even involving the MAC of knowing what's going on and happening. So it's wonderful that you're explaining to the board of what has been going on in concerns and discussions that are taking place. And that's essentially my comment through here is this is like a workshop, a little bit of gathering about what is happening and how we are addressing some of the concerns that are happening. You still haven't brought up a little bit about the fact that you may train them, but with the seniority issue, there is a question about whether they go someplace else. But you're going to figure that one out too. And with that, I will end my public comment about dealing with bus cancellations. And again, appreciate you making this effort so the board knows what has been happening and going on and how you're attempting to resolve, and continuing in the future, because I'm hearing from the Bay Area that they're not coming back. And so their concern is that 2 years from now, what they're going to have to be looking at service. This Friday, I will be looking at another area in Ohio that is proposing a raising of bus fares. So wanting to see that we don't have that happen here. Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
That concludes our GM report section.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we have, gets us to item number 9. Director Budge, do you have anything to add to 9.1? No. Nope. All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I have an idea or suggestion, if I could. So, Henry, as you're well aware, the County Administration Center takes up a full city block between H and I streets and 7th and 8th streets. And we're arguably the best served single block in the whole system. We have the bus route on our south side, and we're encircled on the other three by our train system. One of the things that I've come to kind of regret in terms of where the office that I work in is located, which happens to be at that very northwest corner of 7th and H Street, is that happens to be one of two intersections that have surface markings for vehicular traffic not to encroach on the turning radius of our trains. Now, when drivers do encroach in that area, and we do have an operator that's attempting to make the turn, and this happens probably no less than a dozen times a week, they will lay on the horn, and I'm not exaggerating. They will lay on the horn until the light changes and the vehicle clears. If that is not a requirement for them to do that, can I suggest that perhaps working with Director Valenzuela's office, we explore looking at maybe different signage, maybe different surface markings, and I don't know if there's a way to have our operators retrained on the appropriate use of audible signaling to get people to obey the traffic signals and signs. But I got to tell you, especially with the residential use on the northwest corner of 7th and H, the jail and the County Administration Center right there, and now a new courthouse a block away, it is a very, very disruptive encounter to grapple with. I've actually had media interviews that have had to, pause in the middle while the horn just continues to blare, and it's made phone conversation difficult at times. So if you could, please look at that. The other intersection is a block further east on H and 8th.
So thank you for raising this issue to us, and sorry about that. And the third point is we are going to immediately look into that and find out what the best solutions will be by working with our partners.
Sure, of course, safety is paramount. That's clear to everyone. But I don't see why it's necessary to literally, press the horn button for an extensive amount of time. It's got to be well over 115 decibels.
Well, if that is something, a violation of our policy, we will immediately stop that.
Great. Thank you.
So first I will say amen to that. Yeah. Member Valenzuela.
Yeah, and if you're in one of those cars who's not in the train's way or walking down the street, it can be quite a shock. So definitely down to help if it's signage or what have you. But I did have a request, Henry, because I've been a little preoccupied with funding for Smart Ride. It really bothers me. It's a program that's really successful, and I know we're starting to run out of some of those grant funds that we were using to expand the zones to parts of our county that didn't always have Smart Ride. So Henry, I'm wondering if you and the team can look into the language of Measure A to see if there's any way to get any more discretionary money or make the case to STA for any more discretionary money to keep those service going. We all know we have a problem, as one of our callers mentioned, with the measure failing to figure out how to fund the program permanently, but I would really like us to look into any potential stopgap measures we could be deploying here.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a problem to share with my colleagues and see if anybody else has run into this problem. I brought this to Henry and Chris last week. Mills Junior High, Cordova High, and Cordova Gardens are all within about 500 feet of each other. They're all three closed campuses. Well, it turns out that our very creative students at Cordova High, some of them are calling the Smart Ride at lunch to pick them up and take them to McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken that's within another block away. And they are, they've been observed making very unsafe movements across busy roads. As I said, it's closed campus. This is illegal. I know that our police chief is looking into it with our SRO officers and the people at the school, but I wondered if anybody else had heard of such a thing and you had any kind of solution. I know.
Maybe some DoorDash gift cards might work out, you know?
Well, we're looking for good solutions, so if anybody happens to hear of anything, please let us know.
Well, it's my recollection from my high school days that every student at Cordova High School is smart, so.
Thank you, Patrick.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I believe that gets us to the end of our agenda this evening. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to see everybody, and we're adjourned. Oh, we will adjourn also in the memory of our fallen colleague and friend, Stephen Miller. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.